Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another episode of Haqiqatjou, where we discuss religion and politics, the two least controversial subjects. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and we have a nice episode for you today, hopefully a more brief episode, talking about the recent developments in Palestine and the Middle East. Unfortunately, we are seeing an escalation, as was announced by the Netanyahu government. They have initiated a massive ground invasion coming from the north, pushing into northern Gaza and just wiping out and killing literally hundreds of Palestinians. What's been reported is in the past week alone, about 400 have been killed by the IDF. And what the IDF is trying to do is drive the Palestinians to the south. And they want to constrain the Palestinians into the southern part of the Gaza Strip so that they can eventually evacuate the Gaza Strip, thus completing their ethnic cleansing campaign. So we want to discuss that. I also wanted to mention and give you an update on the Iran deal. The United States is trying to come to an agreement, or seemingly trying to come to an agreement with Iran on a nuclear deal. And these negotiations have been happening for over a month and a half now. So what is really the end goal? What is the Trump campaign trying to, or the Trump administration trying to do? And I referred to this in our previous episode, that this seems to be a ruse. It seems to be a kind of a ploy to distract the Iranian government, lull them into a sense of complacency so that an effective bombing campaign can take them by surprise, thus eliminating their nuclear enrichment capabilities and perhaps even sparking a larger revolution in the country in order to replace the Iranian government with a government that Israel would prefer, one that is more sympathetic, let's say, to Israel. So I'll give you some updates and thoughts about that. I also wanted to address what a lot of people have been saying about my critique of the Syrian government. I've been getting a lot of comments from people saying that I'm completely wrong about the Syrian government and what they're doing with normalization with the United States. The United States has announced, Donald Trump announced just a few days ago, that they're lifting sanctions from Syria in order to infuse Syria with an influx of investment, cash from foreign countries. And what this is meant to do is that countries like UAE, Saudi, other Gulf, Middle Eastern countries can start investing within Syria, whatever kind of economic investment they want to rebuild the infrastructure and so forth. And the idea is that they could not do that without the U.S. lifting sanctions. Why? Because if the U.S. sanctions a country, that means all of the allies of the U.S. have to abide by those sanctions as well and not do business with the targeted country. So this is being praised by many Islamists, many former Islamists. It's being praised as this huge win for Syria and the dawn of a new era for Syria. And this is great news. And obviously, I'm much more skeptical, and we want to discuss this in more depth. But I challenge the leading critic, one of the leading trolls on Twitter, who is just always in my replies with nonsense. I can't even be bothered to read half of it, let alone respond. But he claims that he's challenged me to debate. Excuse me. He's challenged me to debate, but I've been running away. And this is false, of course. This is a complete lie. I'm the one who invited this person to debate me, and he never showed up. So I reissued a challenge to debate specifically this issue of whether the U.S. is a bigger threat to Syria or Iran? Is the United States and its partner, or should we say its controller, Israel, the government of Israel, are they a bigger threat to Syria? Are they a bigger threat to the Arabs of the Middle East, to the Muslims of the Ummah, or is it Iran? And let's debate that. Let's bring the facts and figures and have a substantive discussion. And let's see if he even accepts this debate. He ran away from the previous challenge, but we're not going to let him run away from this challenge, inshallah. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. If you have thoughts on how this should be debated, let me know. And we'll talk more about Syria later in the show, inshallah. Also, a lot of these Madkhali bots have been tweeting and twerping in the replies on Twitter. And you can tell that they're bots because they have the same lines over and over. They repeat the same lines, and there's like a sudden shift in the kinds of replies that they're spamming under my tweets. That's how you can tell it's a coordinated campaign, most likely coming from the Gulf. But I had tweeted my criticisms of the Gulf states for hosting Donald Trump, basically rolling out the red carpet for the man who just months ago announced back in February that they're going to completely expel all the Palestinians. They're going to occupy GAZA and build the Riviera of the Middle East with casinos and clubs and luxury hotels built on the graves of the Palestinians that have been ethnically cleansed. This is the president that now you're rolling out the red carpet, inviting him to meet with your officials, your leaders, taking him on tours of masajid, mosques, and he is supplying and accelerating weapons of mass destruction to be used by the IDF against innocent Palestinians. This is really the man that you are honoring. It's not even about like honoring him in a formalistic way or just for the sake of show. No, you're inviting him and you're making multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar deals with him to enrich him and the U.S. This is something that the Ummah should just look at with no comment. This is something that the Ummah should look at and not think of it as the worst betrayal of not only Palestinians, not only the Ummah, but also Islam as a whole. A betrayal of Allah and His religion, a betrayal of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Really? Is that how we should understand this? So I am expressing criticism, and then you have all of these madkhalis, and the only response that they can think of, the only response that these madkhalis, these Wahhabis, some of these Arab supremacists, the only response that they can think of is that, well, Daniel, you live in the US, so you're in no position to be talking. You're in no position. You living in the United States, where you were born and raised and your family is here, and you've never lived in another country in your life, you living in the United States is the same as the UAE giving $1 trillion, or Qatar giving $1 trillion, or Saudi giving $600 billion to the United States. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So Daniel, how can you criticize? This is their big brain argument against me. And I pointed out that this is reminiscent of literally every group that I debate. If I debate atheists, like I debated APUS 4 or 5 years ago, if I debate Christians, if I debate Jews, literally debating multiple Jews that I've debated, if I debate Hindus, they all use this line. Daniel, you're so critical of Western liberalism, you're so critical of the United States, you're so critical of these systems of imperial power, but you're living there, so your arguments are completely invalid and you're a hypocrite. They all make the same arguments. And some of these madkhalis, like, this clown Farid, who believes, by the way, that making dua to jinn and angels is something permissible. Instead of making dua to Allah, you can make dua to jinn and angels. Yet he calls me a shirk apologist, even though I say all of this is haram. Calling and making dua to angels, jinn, the dead. This is all haram according to me and may even be shirk. But according to Farid, no, you can make dua to angels, you can make dua to jinn. Farid and Jake are agreed on that. But I'm the shirk apologist. I'm spreading kufr and shirk. Okay. Someone like Farid, 5 years ago, when Apus was making this argument against me, when Christians made this argument against me, the Madkhalis agreed that this is a bad argument. This makes no sense. Just because you live in a country, that doesn't mean you can't criticize that country. But now they've changed their tune. Now, this shows the dishonesty and the inconsistency of these Wahhabis. They will say anything against their opponents to discredit, to villainize their opponents, even when it comes to these lies, like blatant, outright lies. So they're claiming over and over again, and that's their whole tactic. Their whole tactic is if you lie enough times, then it becomes fact. So if we lie enough and say that Daniel is promoting shirk, Daniel says that you can, it's permissible to call to the dead and make dua to the dead. Daniel says that's permissible, even though I literally say, no, it's absolutely forbidden. And it is very likely shirk. Even though I say that, they lie and say that Daniel says the opposite. Daniel says it's permissible. There's no problem with this. So this is a lie that they can't actually address my arguments. They can't rebut my arguments. So they have resorted to just lying, just repeat the lie. And this is the same tactic that Zionists use. Why do you think Zionists, you think Zionists have the facts on their side? Do you think Zionists have facts and morality and common sense on their side? No, they are only propagating lies, but they're able to overwhelm the media ecosystem because they push those lies on all of these media outlets, on all of social media, within academic publishing, which they also have heavy controls of, in large part due to Donald Trump. Now in this second term, where Donald Trump is clamping down and refusing to give federal funds to universities like Harvard or Columbia if they don't clamp down on anti-Semitism. So that is the Zionist tactic, is just to control the media landscape and fill it with lies. And this is what Madkhalis and Wahhabis also adopt. I wonder why there's this coincidence that they have the same tactics. And this is why they won't debate. This is why someone like Farid or someone like Jake or someone like any of these other Wahhabis that I've challenged, they will not debate. And I keep challenging them. I say, look, you have these claims that you're making. They're lies. They're false about me. And you don't even know what you're talking about. So let's sit down and have a debate. Let's have a discussion. And we will present our evidence, and the audience can decide what is true and what is false. But they refuse, because that will expose them. It's the same reason that no Zionist agrees to debate me. No Jewish Zionist agrees to debate me. I have to struggle. I've challenged them numerous times, even those Zionists that make videos about me so that they can't claim that I'm not important enough to debate. They're making videos about me. Multiple videos. So I say, look, instead of making a video about me, how about you talk to me directly? How about you confront my views and my arguments head on? And then we'll see who is right. I'll rebut your views, you rebut mine. But they refuse. The Zionists, Jewish Zionists refuse, and Wahhabis refuse. And there's this one Wahhabi who claims he's a scholar, Dimishqiya, he has his channel. He's making memes about me. They're really low IQ memes, not very clever at all. And in Ramadan, he said, Daniel, I will debate you, but I'm fasting. So I have to dedicate myself to worship. And so I don't want to debate you now, but I'll debate you. I will debate you. This is the promise that he made. Now he's gone. He's ghosted me. He won't respond to any communication. I've tweeted at him and put posts under his tweets reminding him, hey, remember you said you would debate me on Tawheed and Shirk? This is the debate you wanted. You said that, because I initially proposed, why don't we debate Ibn Abdul Wahhab? Was Muhammad Ibn Abdul Wahhab in the 18th century, was he a Orthodox Sunni Muslim, or was he actually a Khariji deviant? Let's debate this. Let's bring the evidence. Let's bring the facts. No one accepted that. None of these Wahhabis who claim that Ibn Abdul Wahhab is Shaykhul Islam, none of them accepted that debate. I wonder why. I wonder why they can't defend their sheikh. So then Dimashqiya, this scholar, made a video, said, no, I'm not going to debate people. Let's debate Tawheed and Shirk, because that's more fundamental. We have to understand Tawheed and Shirk. And I said, sure, let's do that. Let's debate Tawheed and Shirk. But I'm not only going to debate you on one issue of istighatha, I also want to debate you on tawassul. I want to debate you on visiting the graves and prostrating to graves. I want to debate you on tabarruk. I want to debate you on amulets. I want to debate you on all of these related issues of shirk and tawheed, because it's all part of the same package. And he said, yes, I will debate you. I will debate you. And now he's nowhere to be found. So if you're, Dimashqiya watching this, or anyone who knows Dimashqiya, tell him to man up. Tell him to not be afraid. You're the scholar. I don't even claim to be a scholar. I don't claim to be a sheikh. Let's have a debate on Tawheed and Shirk. But again, unfortunately, the Wahhabis, they don't have any integrity. I mean, isn't this embarrassing? Like, don't you feel like you're not a man if you get challenged to a debate and then you don't show up? And shirk and tawheed is their number one issue. Like, that's their whole thing. The whole thing about these Wahhabis is shirk and tawheed. So I'm like a casual strolling in, and I'm saying, yeah, as a casual, I'm going to debate you. And then you run away. You're supposed to be the elite professional. You're the pro at shirk and tawheed, supposedly. But a casual is scaring you, like a casual is bullying you, and you're running away. That's embarrassing. And that's the thing with Farid. That's the thing with Jake. That's the thing with all of these Wahhabis. So the challenge is there. I'm the shirk apologist, and I'm a shirk apologist not because I say it's permissible to make requests of the dead. I'm just a shirk apologist because I don't think that is the kind of kufr that will necessarily take you out of Islam. That's my position, and that's the position of a huge number, arguably the majority of Sunni scholars historically have had the same position as me, but because of Wahhabism and the brainwashing of Wahhabism, that is now considered to be shirk apology if you have that position. It's the same logic as the Khawarij. The Kharijis also said, I'll ask you, if I said that drinking alcohol doesn't make you a kafir, would you then call me an alcohol apologist? Daniel is apologizing for drinking beer and drinking wine and drinking whiskey. Daniel is a whiskey apologist, and his whole dawah is about promoting the permissibility of whiskey. Don't you see that would be ridiculous? That would be an outrageous lie. And this is what the Khawarij is. This is what the Kharijis did in the time of the Sahaba. They accused them of promoting major sins like drinking alcohol, like zina. Why? Because the Sahaba said that and the Salaf said it is not kufr if you drink alcohol. It doesn't take you out of Islam just if you take a sip of wine. It doesn't take you out of Islam. It makes you sinful. It's a major sin, and you're liable for severe punishment from Allah if you do not repent. That is the correct position of Islam. But the Khawarij said, no, you're not going far enough. You have to consider drinking alcohol to be kufr. Whoever drinks alcohol is a kafir. Whoever drinks a sip of wine, he is a kafir. That is what the Khawarij said. And the Sahaba said no. So do you understand that that's perfectly analogous to our situation today? That's perfectly analogous. The vast majority of Sunni scholars also said, if you go and make a request to the dead, like someone who considered to be a saint, the Prophet ﷺ himself at his grave, and you don't combine that with like any other act, like you don't leave some kind of offering, you don't do prostration, you don't add other things to it, it's just a request. That request in and of itself does not take you out of Islam. Does not take you out of Islam. This is the vast majority position of Sunni orthodoxy. And historically, only very few people disagree. Ibn Taymiyyah was one of them, but he was in the fringe minority. The rest of Sunni Islam, 99%, said this does not take you out of Islam. But what the Wahhabis have done is to associate that position with shirk. If you take that position, you are promoting shirk. And you are a shirk apologist and you are a kafir. You are upon kufr. That's what they're saying about me. Ibn Taymiyyah didn't even say that. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, didn't even say that about the Sunni scholars who didn't adopt his position on it being the kind of kufr that takes you out of Islam. So this is the kind of situation that we're dealing with. And again, they have to just keep lying. They have to distort what I actually believe. They have to repeat the lie endlessly, because that's the only way that they can convince people who don't know any better. But yeah, the debate challenge is there, and it should be proof to everyone who is observing this and monitoring this months of back and forth. They should take it very seriously that the other side, the Wahhabis, don't agree to debate. Like it's a scandal. It's a scandal, and it reveals everything. It reveals how ignorant they are. And it was proven. Like, one of them tried to play this trick, Adnan Rashid, coming onto my channel. Oh, I just want a friendly discussion with you, Daniel. And then he makes it into a debate. He didn't know even that the Hanbali school is also a school of Aqidah. He didn't even know that. He thought Hanbali is just fiqh. It's just a school of fiqh, like the four madhahib. Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, and Hanbali. That's what he thought. Like, no, you don't understand that Hanbali, the school of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, can also refer to a school of Aqidah. You can be a Shafi'i in fiqh, but a Hanbali in Aqidah. He didn't even know that. And he's the one who's going to teach me about Tawheed. And I asked him, is it permissible to make requests of jinn, to make dua and call to jinn and angels? He said, I don't know. I haven't researched that. Oh, okay. So you want to lecture me on shirk and tawheed? So this is the best that they can do. So yeah, so that's an update, and an update on the documentary on Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Good news, inshallah, if all goes as planned, it's going to be released this coming week, inshallah. It's a long documentary. It's over 3 hours long. I'm still trying to decide if I want to just publish it or release it as a premiere. Either way, I'll give you the date in advance when it's going to drop. And so you can schedule a watch party. You can schedule watching it because a lot of work went into it. A lot of good brothers have contributed to the research, the editing, the video production. And I hope that you will benefit and enjoy. So be on the lookout for an announcement when that is going to drop. So, yeah. And the final update, there was a debate that I had last night with a Hindu. It was a very entertaining debate. The most entertaining part of the debate was that, so I tried to bring a new argument or a new type of argument against Hinduism, because the topic was Islam versus Hinduism, which religion is more violent? And I conceded that all religions have violence. Islam has violence. Islam, in fact, has conquest. Islam has criminal punishments, etc. There is violence that's endorsed in Islam. But Hinduism endorses violence that is unacceptable because it's violence on the basis of caste supremacy, racial supremacy. So that's one reason it's unacceptable. And the second reason it's unacceptable is that it's violence used to spread idol worship, the worship of a god like Brahma, who is documented in their mythology as chasing down and raping his own daughter. Gods like Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, who gang rape someone's wife. Like, these are the gods that Hinduism endorses. So spreading violence in order to spread Hinduism is spreading idol worship. It's spreading practices like sati. It's spreading practices like caste. It's spreading practices like child temple prostitution. So that's the other reason why Hindu violence is more objectionable. Anyway, I presented within the opening statement a lot of genetic argumentation that proves or counters the Hindu claim, because the number one claim that Hindus make is that Islam is violent because primarily the primary evidence is that it violently conquered India. India was a peaceful Hindu nation. You know, they were just peacefully worshiping cows and drinking cow urine. They were just peaceful people, happy people. And then these barbarians, these Muslim barbarians, came and killed, slaughtered, massacred women and children, and just completely genocided the peaceful Hindus and then forcefully converted them into Islam. That's the only reason that Islam is in India. And there's no Muslim that has become a Muslim in India was due to rational consideration or due to reflection on the beauty of Islam. No, that's not why anyone converted to Islam in the subcontinent. It was only because of forceful conversion. That's how we explain that you have hundreds of millions of Muslims in India. So this is their main argument against Islam, but this is an argument that has been defeated because of this Aryan invasion. The Hindus also conquered India. The Hinduism entered the subcontinent through violent conquest, and that conquest did lead to a genocide. The Muslim conquest didn't lead to a genocide. Muslims weren't genociding or mass killing the Hindus simply for being Hindus. They just made them dhimmis. They took this position within the Hanafi school primarily, the Hanafi madhab, that they should be counted as Ahlul Kitab, this one opinion. And so they allowed them to live as dhimmis. And then many of the Hindus converted to Islam because they were very attracted by the fact that Islam doesn't have a caste system. Islam, you can be a lower caste Hindu and then convert to Islam, and then suddenly you're no longer a Dalit, you're suddenly no longer an untouchable, so suddenly you're no longer at the bottom rung of society. That was the main attraction for mass conversion, about 25% of the Hindus becoming Muslim. But the point is that the Aryan invasion, the Hindu invasion into India, completely demolishes the argument against Islam. And prior to the last 10 years, that Aryan invasion wasn't established historically or scientifically. There just wasn't enough documentation to prove that this invasion happened 3,500 years ago. But due to advances in genetics, due to advances in being able to extract and analyze DNA, in the past 10 years, it's been established that this invasion did indeed happen between 3,500 years ago and 4,000 years ago. So this completely demolishes the Hindutva, the Hindu nationalist argument that Hinduism is something indigenous to India. And that's why this research has been prohibited in India. And it was actually announced just last night. It was announced that my Twitter account has been banned in India. Is it a coincidence that with the debate where I'm presenting this genetic research, that suddenly my accounts are getting banned in India? Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe, they don't want this information getting out. So I encourage you to watch the debate if you want to see the details. And what was so amusing about the debate is that the Hindu that I was debating, was making like he apparently wasn't familiar with this research, but since it completely demolishes his position, because he was heavily relying on this claim that, well, Muslims invade and Muslims invaded India and that's why Islam is bad and evil. He was heavily relying on that. All he could say is that, oh, you're grasping at straws. The science doesn't prove anything. Genetics doesn't prove anything. That was his only response. And then at the end of the debate, he revealed, just like the previous Hindu that I debated, that he believes that ancient Hindus were doing plastic surgery and were able to take an elephant's head and implant it, transplant it onto a human head, like with Ganesha. He thinks that there were these ancient Hindu plastic surgeons who could do this elephant head operation. So he revealed that he believes that the ancient Hindus also had spaceships. They were doing interstellar travel. So you believe in that, but you don't believe genetic research published in Oxford University Press or at the top medical journals in the world. Okay. So that was amusing. I didn't expect him to have that kind of view of ancient Hindu technology. That was a surprise. That was a mistake on my part. Now I just need to do like a check. Whenever I debate a Hindu, I should just upfront ask them, before we debate anything further, tell me what you think about ancient Hindu plastic surgery and spaceships. Tell me, because I need to understand where you're coming from before I present to you any evidence. Before I present to you like scientific evidence or academic evidence. If you believe in ancient Hindu plastic surgery, then maybe I'm going to have trouble convincing you that academic evidence is valid or provides any kind of epistemic value. So check out that debate with the Hindu. It's on the channel, and leave a comment. If I could do a more extensive debate commentary, I'm trying to decide whether I want to do that or not. If you want a debate commentary, go watch the debate and in the comment section put that you're interested in a debate commentary. That way, if there are enough comments, then we can do that, inshallah, later in the coming week. Okay, let's get back to Palestine and the situation there. Oops, sorry. So it was announced that inside sources within the White House have reported to the media that the plan that the Trump administration is pursuing is transferring 1 million Palestinians from Gaza into Libya. And this is the kind of solution, the final solution that they want, is to actually do a mass transfer of Palestinians. Now, this has been massively reported in the media, but now the administration has said that no, this is baseless. That's not what we're pursuing. But it's hard to tell what's actually going on because is this something that they've just planted in the media? Did the White House plant this to create some kind of leverage to maybe goad other countries like Egypt into accepting these Palestinian refugees, what would be refugees? It's not clear what is actually going on, but this is a final solution for Gaza, is to forcibly transfer 1 million. And what's shocking about the claim of transferring 1 million Palestinians, and while I'm speaking, I'm just going to play some footage here so that you can watch while I'm talking. Just horrific footage of what Israel is doing right now, what the IDF is doing. the shocking thing about them saying 1 million Palestinians being transferred from Gaza is that the population of Gaza is supposed to be 2.1 million. 2.1 million Palestinians live in Gaza prior to October 7th. And the official claim that the media has been even then reluctantly spreading is that only 50,000, maybe now they've updated to 52,000 Palestinians have been killed after almost a year and a half of IDF, carpet bombing, and mass starvation. So is it really 50,000? Because if you're only going to transfer 1 million Palestinians, what about the other 900,000 Palestinians? What about the other 1 million Palestinians? Are they going to be just mass killed? Are they just going to be executed and put in mass graves in Gaza? What is the plan actually for the remainder? And it's not clear why they emphasize just 1 million. And when you look at the logistics, how can you transfer 1 million Palestinians? Are you going to do it by ship? Like you can take ferries? If you use ferries to transfer the Palestinians, a ferry, like high capacity ferry boat, can carry about 2,000 people. So you would need over 1,000 round trips back and forth in order to transfer 1 million Palestinians. 1,000. And each way takes over a day. So this is like a transfer that would take years just by ferry. If you tried to do it by airplane, it would take even longer. There is no airport in Gaza. There's no airport that planes can land and fly out of. And obviously, they're not going to allow the Palestinians to take any kind of Israeli airport like Ben Gurion. So what airport will be used for air travel? And land travel, what country is going to open up the Palestinians to travel by land? They would have to go from Egypt. And Egypt is saying that they're not going to accept. They're not going to accept the Palestinians from Gaza coming into the Sinai and traveling through the country. Like there's literally no path. There's no feasible way for this transfer to occur. And it's like Netanyahu and the IDF are just trying to force the hand. Like we are going to force someone to take the Palestinians because we're just going to keep killing them. We're going to escalate the killing, the extermination, so that eventually the world says, okay, fine, we have to do it. Israel is basically creating such a massive humanitarian crisis that the world has no choice but to take action and to either force Egypt, to force Jordan, or to force the Gulf countries to find a solution to transfer the Palestinians from Gaza and thus complete the ethnic cleansing campaign. This is what's going on. And is it a coincidence that this is happening as Donald Trump is in the Gulf, visiting Saudi, visiting Qatar, visiting the UAE, being wined and dined by MBZ, MBS, and giving these speeches, visiting mosques, as you saw the past few days? Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that these governments are dedicating trillions of dollars to Trump and America as the IDF ramps up this operation, this mass killing operation? Is that all a coincidence? And we should not think of these governments as helpless in this situation either. Understand that there is a shared, and there always has been a shared interest from these Gulf governments with the United States, with Israel, to eliminate Hamas. And it's obvious why Israel wants to eliminate Hamas, but why do the Gulf countries want to eliminate Hamas? Well, obviously part of it is because of the deals that they have with Israel, but it's also the fact that Hamas is Ikhwani. Hamas is considered part of Ikhwan al-Muslimin, or under that same ideology of Ikhwan al-Muslimin. And Ikhwan al-Muslimin, the whole point of Ikhwan is social change in order to eventually create Islamic governance. And this is seen as the biggest threat, a massive threat to these Gulf monarchies. It's considered a huge threat. That's why Wahhabism has always been the arch nemesis and opponent of Ikhwan al-Muslimin, and the whole idea of Islamic governance. So Hamas has always been considered a threat. And that's why you see the Madkhalis, initially, when October 7th happened, initially all of the Madkhalis came out and said that, well, good, I hope that the IDF in Israel wipes out Hamas, wipes out this government, wipes out their infrastructure in Gaza. That's what the Madkhalis were saying originally. But then there was so much backlash that they had to stop advocating so openly against the Palestinian resistance. But all along, that's been where their sentiments lie. All along, their sentiments have been great. We do celebrate the IDF coming in and forcibly removing Hamas, because as long as Hamas is operating, this is a radicalizing element for our countries. Because radicalizing, I say in quotes, because they believe that if you want Islamic government, you are a radical. If you want khilafah, if you want the Sharia to be implemented, that makes you a radical extremist and a terrorist. And you need to be cracked down upon by the government. You need to be put in prison. You need to be de-radicalized. And as long as the Muslim world is rallying behind the Palestinian resistance, this Ikhwani aligned Palestinian resistance, that is a threat, because you're making Ikhwan into heroes. You're making Hamas into heroes, the Palestinian resistance into heroes. That radicalizes our Muslim population, and it puts so much pressure on us, the governments, that not only are we not Islamic, not only do we care about implementing Islam to any significant degree. In fact, we're rolling everything back. We're trying to eliminate Islam and adopt Vision 2030 and become secular and liberalized, and with our concerts and our entertainment authority putting on Halloween celebrations and Christmas celebrations. Not only are we trying to secularize, but we also have all these deals with Israel. We have all these economic multi-billion-dollar deals with Israel in terms of not only goods, consumer goods, not only raw materials, but also technologies, also military weapons, also intelligence. We have all of this connection to Israel that that is being threatened by the existence of Hamas, by the existence of a Palestinian resistance, and we need this to stop. So you have, on the one hand, the public face of these governments is that, oh, we're supporting the Palestinians and we want Israel to stop the genocide, or we want Israel to stop the killing, and eventually we want to have a Palestinian state. They make these vague assurances. This is just the public face. This is just for public consumption. But in reality, their interests are with the elimination of Palestinians in Gaza and the elimination of Hamas. That is actually what is in the interest of these Gulf countries. And that is behind the scenes, everything proves that that's what they're working towards. And that's why when I say it's no coincidence that this massive campaign, this sweep from northern Gaza is happening now, coinciding with Trump's visit to the Gulf, that's why I say it's not a coincidence, because the interests are all aligned. The United States really doesn't have any independent interests other than, doing what Israel is bribing it and forcing it to do. And then you have the Gulf countries who want to eliminate Hamas once and for all in order to make an ideological blow to Islamism, to Ikhwanism, and that explains the horror. That explains the horror and the tragedy you see here in this footage. Palestinian children being maimed, Palestinian children starving to death. It's been about 2 weeks that there's been no humanitarian aid that has reached Gaza. They're literally being starved to death. And then people say, well, what can the Gulf countries do? What can anyone do? So you have enough wealth to mobilize $1 trillion and dedicate $1 trillion to Donald Trump, pledge that money to Donald Trump, but you don't have enough power to leverage into maybe getting some kind of humanitarian aid within Gaza, like as a minimum, putting some kind of pressure on Donald Trump to allow food, clean water, medical supplies to get into Gaza. So that's very hard for me to believe. It just shows you that it's more plausible to understand that no, they are actually happy about the situation. They're glad that the IDF is wrapping it up. Wrap this up. We need to move on. They've completely abandoned the Palestinian cause, and this is their actual motive. And they've also abandoned Masjid al-Aqsa. Like that's a foregone conclusion. Like Israel, for all intents and purposes, controls Masjid al-Aqsa. Jordan is supposed to be the custodian of Masjid al-Aqsa, but it's just a symbolic thing, because if you can't control who can come in and go out of Masjid al-Aqsa, you have the IDF always encroaching and brutalizing Palestinians in Masjid al-Aqsa. You have Jewish settlers coming in and violating the masjid. So what kind of control, what kind of custodians are you actually? And I've mentioned this in the past. The future plan for Masjid al-Aqsa is to just turn it into like the Abrahamic house. So within the UAE, within Dubai, you have the Abrahamic house. And Donald Trump actually was visiting with MBZ. MBZ was giving him a tour and took him to the synagogue of this complex, the Abrahamic faith complex. And you have a church, you have a synagogue, and you have a masjid. And they all look the same. They're all in this cube structure, 3 buildings in this compound. And this is the Abrahamic faith. We're all believers. We're all believers and followers of the faith of Ibrahim. So Donald Trump was literally visiting. This is the vision that they have for Masjid al-Aqsa. They want to turn Masjid al-Aqsa into a Abrahamic faith compound where you'll have a place for the Christians, you'll have a place for the Jews, and you'll have a place for the Muslims, a masjid for the Muslims. After bulldozing and tearing down the old structures, then you're going to build the new structures. And there's going to be plenty of Medkhali scholars who'd say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's nothing in Islam that says that can't be shared. That space can't be shared with the Jews and the Christians. There's nothing in Islam that says, in fact, there are many hadith that says, do not prohibit the Jews and the Christians from worshiping in their temples. There's plenty of all of these arguments are being prepared as we speak, so that the Madkhalis will justify, these Madkhali Wahhabis will justify the construction of a temple in Masjid al-Aqsa. And you should understand that ultimately this is a stepping stone to the final plan. The final plan, which is to only have the temple, the third temple, which is very significant within Jewish eschatology, that the building of the temple, the construction of the third temple, is going to be the harbinger of the Messiah. The Jewish Messiah will come. Some Jews differ. They say that the Messiah will come first, then the temple. Others say, no, the temple has to be established first, then the Messiah will come. That's the ultimate plan, is to demolish Masjid al-Aqsa and to build the third temple. But they have to have a stepping stone, because it would be too outrageous. There would be too much backlash, and it becomes a security threat if you just go in and demolish. Even though they could do that tomorrow. They could do that today. They can bomb Masjid al-Aqsa and level it and then build their third temple. They could do that, but it'd just be too much backlash. In reality, their Gulf partner, they're not secure enough. They haven't controlled their neighbors in the Gulf, in Jordan, in Syria. They haven't controlled enough to be able to make that into a secure move. So you have to have a stepping stone to that final move, and the stepping stone is to have an Abrahamic house, a not only Masjid al-Aqsa but also a synagogue and a church. Once that becomes normalized, then after a few years or a decade, then you level the rest of it, and you just have the temple, the third temple, on what they claim is their land that God promised to them and promised to Abraham. Yeah, so that's what's being plotted. Will it actually happen? Well, we know that it won't, because Masjid al-Aqsa will remain standing until after the Dajjal, the Antichrist, is killed. The forces of the Antichrist will attempt to kill the believers, to destroy the Imam Mahdi. Imam Mahdi is going to be with the believers, but Imam Mahdi will pray in Masjid al-Aqsa, and he will pray with a very special follower in the saf, in the row, praying behind him, which is Isa alayhi salam. Jesus is going to pray behind Imam Mahdi. So this is something that we know from hadith. Obviously, Imam Mahdi doesn't want to have Isa, a Nabi, one of the greatest prophets and messengers, praying behind him, but Isa alayhi salam insists that he lead the prayer. But this will happen in Masjid al-Aqsa. And when Isa comes, he is going to kill Dajjal. He is going to slay Dajjal near Damascus. So that is what is going to take place. That means that Masjid al-Aqsa will not be destroyed, despite the plans that the Zionists, that these Jewish, Messianic Jews have for Masjid al-Aqsa. So that's an update for you if you weren't aware of what the Zionists have planned. So that's the final solution that's taking place within Palestine. It's really demoralizing, obviously, to see these images of Palestinian children starving to death, hundreds of Palestinians being killed on a daily basis now as they ramp up. So we make dua for their situation. We make dua that Allah destroys this genocidal Zionist force. This is what we all have to be praying in the night. If you're doing tahajjud, I encourage you to do tahajjud and make dua for the Palestinians in your sajda. And this is the time when prayers are accepted. We have to always keep the Palestinians in our dua, especially in tahajjud. So, other things I want to discuss, just to not make the episode too long. The Iran deal, we are seeing some updates on that. It seems like the American side is going to accept a tentative agreement. If Iran limits its enrichment, then perhaps there can be a tentative deal with the promise of another deal that can be made in the future, a more permanent deal. But Donald Trump has said that his whole intention with this deal is to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. I don't think that Iran will actually make this deal. I think that because Iran has specified that they are not going to agree to any deal that hasn't been ratified by the U.S. Congress. They want the guarantee of the U.S. Congress to make this deal as law, as U.S. law, because the previous deal that Iran negotiated with the Obama administration was overturned by Donald Trump. When Donald Trump took office, he ripped up that deal that Iran had made with Barack Obama. So to prevent a future president or Donald Trump himself from ripping up any deal that Iran makes with the U.S., Iran is requiring that the deal be ratified by Congress. And Congress will never approve a deal with Iran because Congress is controlled by AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. So this is why it's very unlikely that any real permanent deal will take hold. And a lot of the bots were making this argument that, oh, Daniel, you have a problem with the Gulf making deals, these Gulf countries making deals with the US and Israel, but you have no problem with Iran making a deal with the United States. Or you have a problem with Syria normalizing with the United States, but you have no problem with Iran making a deal with the United States. So that's a double standard. You're a hypocrite. What can you say to like such low IQ arguments? I didn't make the claim that you cannot make deals with other countries, with non-Muslim countries. It depends on the nature of that deal. It depends on the nature and the cost of that deal. If you are making a deal at the cost of your Muslim brothers and sisters, then that is something repulsive, evil, disgusting. It is haram. It could potentially even be an act of kufr, to betray Islam, to ally with the kuffar against the Muslims, against the believers, as many scholars have mentioned. So that's the difference. What is the nature of the deal? Now, if it's baked into the deal that the US is making with Iran, that if we sign this nuclear deal, part of it is that you cannot defend the Palestinians, you cannot encroach upon Israel to pressure them with missile strikes or with other kinds of military means. If that were baked into the deal, I would say I would be the first to denounce it. I'd be the first to say this is a betrayal of the Palestinian cause. This is a betrayal of our Muslim brothers and sisters. I'd be the first to denounce Iran for that. But that's not on the table. That's not what Iran is negotiating. That's not what Iran is agreeing to. But when you look at Syria or you look at these Gulf countries, they are making those kinds of deals. They are saying that we want peace with Israel, even if we don't normalize Israel, which is yet to be seen whether Syria will normalize with Israel. I predict that they eventually will, that they will be Jordan 2.0 fully. But even if they don't, they're still giving the guarantee. And this is what people don't seem to understand. Syria, Jolani, Shara is giving the guarantee that we will not come to defend the Palestinians. We will not attack Israel militarily. And we won't allow anyone on our soil to be militantly involved against Israel. And that's why we're going to crack down on Palestinian militant groups like Palestinian Islamic Jihad that has offices in our country. We're going to crack down on that. We're going to either put them in prison, or we're going to deport them, or we're going to monitor and surveil them. And what they mean by monitor and surveil, it's not the Syrian government that is going to monitor the PIJ or Palestinian groups in the country. They're outsourcing that to the CIA. They're outsourcing that to the CIA and Mossad. That's what's objectionable. That's what's the problem with what Syria is doing. And we just keep being told by these bots that no, you're an Assadist, no, you're Shi'i, you hate the Muslims, you don't want to see the Muslims win. The Muslims in Syria, it's just W after W after W, we're just winning. How? Okay, winning at what cost? Winning at the cost of, at this moment of genocide, you want to make that kind of argument? How disgusting is that? How much of a traitor, how much of a sellout are you? I was willing to give Shara and the new Syrian regime the benefit of the doubt. I was willing to do that. But it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. They just keep pushing the line. They just keep pushing the line of acceptability. And I tweeted that. Today, all of these, they're essentially Syrian Medkhalis. They're saying, oh, there's no problem with normalizing with the United States. That's what they're saying today. Tomorrow, they're going to use the same exact arguments when there's normalization with Israel. They'll use the same argument. So how are they different than these Gulf Medkhalis? How are they different from someone like Rabbi Ferris, who says that, no, it's perfectly halal to have a deal and an agreement with Israel. It's perfectly halal. It's up to the ruler. The ruler decides. How are they any different? Except instead of Rabbi Ferris's ruler, MBZ or MBS, it's Shara, it's Jolani. That's the only difference. So these are the same arguments. This is the same mentality. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And I'm shocked to see people who were very anti-Medkhali. They understood that this is actually contrary to Islam to prefer the opinions of a ruler or the mandate of a ruler over Islam. This is actually a violation of Islam. This is a betrayal of Islam. They were saying that. And they were even supporting me when I'm arguing against the Medkhalis for years. But now all of a sudden they've adopted all of these Medkhali arguments. And some of these idiots even openly say like, no, I'm a Medkhali now. Like, I'm a Medkhali for Syria. I'm a Medkhali for Jolani. Okay, like, do you not understand that this is the kind of inconsistency that brings into question your moral character, like your moral fiber? Like, what kind of a person are you that you understand that the Medkhalis are a deviant, but now you are adopting their deviance, except now it's for a different person? And then, yeah, so this is the kind of argument that the Syria Medkhalis aren't able to respond to. Now, I've challenged one of them to a debate, and I'm still waiting to see if he'll accept that debate. I'll check on that. But in the meantime, if you have a super chat, go ahead and put it in the comments in the chat, because I'm going to read them, inshallah. Let me just check the debate challenge, because maybe it was accepted. Oh, okay. He says he accepts him. So here it is. Let me just adjust the screen. Okay. I accept the debate with you. We should discuss Syria and Iran openly without any constraints. Okay, so already he doesn't accept the challenge. He has to change the terms. However, you are a manipulative liar who has run away from me more times than I can count. So again, I accepted debating him, and I said, look, come and debate me. I'm having a debate with two other Ba'athist Arab supremacists like you. Come and join them. Have a 3-on-1. There's nowhere to be found. So how am I running from him? And I don't know what these tweets are. Like, he's just obsessed. Like, he has all of these tweets challenging me to a debate. But I've run from that. Okay, whatever you say. But yeah, the debate challenge is specifically who is a greater threat to Muslims, Israel/Iran, or Israel/the US, or Iran. That's the debate challenge. Because that's what he's constantly claiming. He's constantly claiming that Iran is the biggest threat. Iran is the biggest. That's why it's justified for Syria to block Iran and to actually oppose Iran while shaking hands and making deals with the US. If Iran were less of a threat and the US were more of a threat, then this would be completely irrational. Why would you be doing deals and opening up your country to the bigger threat of the United States and Israel? But this is his claim. Already he's backing off of that. Already he's backing up. We should just talk Iran and Syria without constraints. So I already know how this debate is going to go. He's just going to do the same thing that his retarded friend did in the debate that I had. Talha Berg, Shekelberg, Talha, and argue that, oh, Iran has committed so many crimes. Oh, Iran has committed so many crimes against everyone. Iran has killed 600 bazillion people. 600 bazillion Muslims have been killed by Iran. Oh, that's all he's going to spam. So that's fine. Like, I handled it with Talha Berg, and we can just have a repeat of that debate. But he'll avoid the bigger conceptual point that, hey, genius, I agree that these countries have all committed crimes. I agree that Iran has done many objectionable things. I'm criticizing Iran today. I was criticizing Iran today on where is True Promise 3? That's why I'm asking Khamenei. Khamenei tweets this: the dangerous, deadly cancer must be removed or must be eliminated. And I said, okay, then where is True Promise 3? So yeah, I'm critical. There's a genocide going on. You have the means to cause damage, to create a deterrence, but you're not. So what's going on? Like, this is actually quite a big problem. And this is a criticism that I have openly, publicly. So I'm not a medkhali. That's the difference between me and these inconsistent, dishonest bots and agents and shills. I am consistent. I will criticize any government, including the Iranian government, including the Syrian government, including the US government. I am consistent. These people are not. These people are paid shills. They will not criticize the people who are paying them. That's the difference between me and that. And that's why it's going to be a bad time if you try to debate me, because I'll concede. You'll list off, okay, they did, if it's true, like if it's true and established that Iran committed this atrocity, Iran did this wrong thing. I've conceded that. I acknowledge, I've condemned Iran for what Iran has done in Syria already. So what is really the point if you want to, like, we'll discuss it more. I'll condemn it more. It's not going to be any less repulsive, evil what Iran has done to Sunni Syrians by massacring 400,000 or 500,000 being killed in Syria over the past 10 years. That's a fact that's been reported on. But what is the bigger problem? What is the bigger threat? What is the bigger danger? And how can we make decisions as an ummah based on a correct analysis of the geopolitical reality? Not only the geopolitical reality, but the ideological reality. What is Israel's goal? What does Israel want to do on the basis of their biblical texts and their beliefs? And who's actually in control of Israel when you have a large number of highly influential Messianic Jews who want to establish the third temple, and they want to cleanse greater Israel of the Gentiles, of the Arabs? Does that have any significance for these people, for these Ba'athist Arab supremacists? They will have plenty to say about Shi'ism. They'll have plenty to say about the Shi'i ideology and Khomeini and Khamenei and Wilayat al-Faqih with their kind of cartoon understanding of all those things. They'll have plenty to say, but they have nothing to say about Judaism. They have nothing to say about Jewish beliefs in the Messiah and what Judaism says about cleansing greater Israel and what the Bible says about this. Then they have few things to say, and they've accused me of being anti-Semite for bringing these things up. They say I'm obsessed. I'm an obsessed anti-Semite because I actually read what Messianic Jews and Zionists are saying about what they want to do to the Middle East. If you bring that, I wonder who's paying these Baathists, Arab supremacists, to counter message me on Twitter, calling me an anti-Semite, using the same talking points as the Zionists to discredit me and portray me as some kind of hateful bigot, as opposed to someone who is just calling a spade in order to defend the Palestinians, to defend the Palestinian cause, to advocate for the Palestinian cause. So, okay, let's go to the super chats. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. You can find the link to our newsletter in the description. Make sure to go right now and subscribe. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Say salam in the chat. Okay, brother Muhammad Abdu. Jazakallah khair, brother. I love you for the sake of Allah. May Allah love you as well, brother. Mr. Nameless, says, wouldn't a surprise attack on Iran require the presence of a huge American fleet, carriers and planes in the region prior? Is such a fleet already there? If it is, would Iran fall for this ploy, seeing such a presence? Well, the presumption is that the attack would come mainly from Israel. Or from not necessarily U.S. planes, but Israeli planes coming from Israel. And if you're using these heavy munitions, heavy ordnance, bunker buster, or even tactical nuclear weapons, tactical nukes, then you don't necessarily need a huge fleet. And Israel has gathered this kind of fleet because they were, if you remember, earlier this year, coordinating a response to True Promise 2, where Iran bombed Israel with hundreds of hypersonic ballistic missiles. Israel was developing a response through airstrikes. They had mobilized a lot of bombers and refueling jets as well. But then that plan fell through. It was a failure because their plans were leaked. And so Iran became aware of exactly how they were going to strike. And so that was a flop. But Israel does have the capability to do this kind of bombing campaign, especially if the U.S. is supplementing. Now, earlier, the U.S. had moved into Diego Garcia Air Force Base. There's an island in the Indian Ocean, and there's an Air Force base there, and the U.S. had mobilized about 7 B-2 bombers, which is one of the 2 planes that can actually carry nuclear weapons within the Air Force, within the U.S. Air Force. So 7 of them were concentrated, gathered in Diego Garcia Air Force Base. But there's been reports that those B-2 bombers have actually been removed from Diego Garcia just this past week. So those bombers are no longer there. Does that indicate that there is really de-escalation, that the U.S. is really planning to negotiate and is not going to strike? Or is that part of the mind game? Is that part of the ploy? Is that part of the surprise attack? Right now, it's hard to tell. But if I were a betting man, if I were a gambling man, I would say that it's more likely that it's very unlikely that Trump suddenly has decided that he's going to again go against Israel's will. He's going to go against the Zionists for the first time in a major way, because the only thing that the Zionists wanted when they were able to get Donald Trump elected, the only request that they had was bomb Iran, bomb Iran. So is Donald Trump, who's already done so much for Zionists and has really overstepped a lot of legal boundaries and constitutional boundaries by, for example, pushing anti-Semitism laws, prohibiting the free speech if it's anti-Semitic, cutting funding to public universities if they are deemed anti-Semitic. Like, these are things that violate the First Amendment of the Constitution. His administration is pushing that. Deporting green card holders because they have quote-unquote anti-Semitic views. They have criticized Israel, therefore they can be deported. Their visa and their green card can be canceled. Like, these are things that are, he's basically creating new legal precedents that violates prior law, or really stretches the bounds of the legal system. He's willing to do all of that and rack up more and more resentment from his own base, that's slowly coming to realize that, wait, is it America first or is it Israel first? He's willing to pay that political cost, but now all of a sudden he's going to pull back on the one mandate that he had from the people who put him in the position that he's in right now. Maybe that's the case. I'm just a little bit skeptical, is all I'm saying. I'm a little bit skeptical of whether that kind of miracle has happened. And you honestly can't rely on the Trump administration in the first place. Steve Witkoff, which is the envoy to the Middle East, I believe that's his title, he made a deal with Hamas. He made a deal with Hamas to release one of the hostages, Eden Alexander, this Jewish IDF soldier that was captured on October 7th. He's a hostage, but he's like a active soldier. He was in his military fatigue when the Palestinian resistance took him. He's a hostage. He's not a prisoner of war. Let's just make that very clear. Steve Witkoff and the Trump administration negotiated a deal with Hamas to have to return Eden Alexander, this American Jewish quote unquote hostage. But Steve Witkoff had promised to allow humanitarian aid to go into the Gaza Strip in return for Eden Alexander. Soon as Eden Alexander is delivered, Steve Witkoff reneges on his promise. No humanitarian aid is allowed into Gaza. So you can't trust what the American officials are saying. They will openly lie to your face. They'll openly make promises and not keep them after you comply. So how can you negotiate with this administration? How can Iran negotiate? How can Syria negotiate? Iran should not negotiate with the United States, as far as I'm concerned, because they don't keep their promises. So it's irrational. It would be foolish to negotiate with a administration that has proven itself to lie, to make bold-faced lies without any remorse. So this is the lie that they gave to the Palestinian resistance in order to continue starving over 1 million Palestinians and children. Yeah, so that's my analysis there. John Stewart, thank you for your super chat. Medkhalis are silent about that weird ritual of girls moving their hair in the UAE for Trump on display, but call others bid'ah or tabarruj or kafir. Yeah, you noted the hypocrisy of the Medkhalis as well. People like Fareed, people like Jake, like all these Medkhali bootlicking Wahhabis, they don't say a single word against the UAE. If you missed it, I can bring it on the screen. Hold on. It's just shocking what the UAE does. Like, it's a deliberate secularization agenda. You have, let's see. Trump is visiting the UAE, and he's coming out of the airport. The UAE has a nice little presentation for him. Some eye candy, I guess. Waving their hair. It's like they're possessed by jinn. Like, this is how you, and there's MBZ greeting Trump, escorting him out of the building. Yeah, so this is Jahiliyyah. This is a type of pre-Islamic pagan ritual, pagan dance. It looks like it looks paganistic. It looks like Jahiliyyah. And it also looks pretty stupid, even beyond that. And plenty of non-Muslims were commenting too, like, what is this bizarre thing? And then you had Medkhalis, you had these UAE bots saying, no, this is the tradition of the UAE. There's nothing wrong with this. Don't criticize the ruler. But the defenders of Tawheed have nothing to say when it's their beloved ruler who's doing it. This is just bait. Daniel is a she-rat. Oh, you're hurting my feelings. Why are you still running from debates? Which debate am I running from? Isn't it the Wahhabi Takfiris who won't accept my debate? Is it Dimishqiya? Dimishqiya hasn't accepted my debate. Fareed has not accepted my debate. Jake has not accepted my debate. I even challenged Muhammad ibn Shamsuddin. He hasn't accepted my debate challenge. So is it me? Which debate am I running from? Thank you for your super chat, Ali. It's very late here, but I want to wish you a good stream. Barakallahu feek. Allah yarbarak feek. Thank you so much. Let's see. Will you debate Alex O'Connor? Yes, absolutely. I've challenged him many times, and I've tried to get Modern Day Debates to organize a debate between me and Alex O'Connor. He refuses. Even, I believe, Modern Day Debates was willing to pay Alex O'Connor. I could be wrong about this. I could be misremembering. This was over a year ago. To pay Alex O'Connor to debate me, and he still has not accepted. He still refuses. So... Brother Akhta says, Assalamu alaikum, Daniel. Wa alaikum assalam. Indian fan here. Would you suggest Indian Muslims migrating to Afghanistan, or will it be better to wait and watch? Right now, we feel like sitting ducks. Brother, you know your situation better than me, so I can't really advise you on the basis of knowledge of the ground reality. If you feel like you're in danger, and your family is in danger because of Hindu extremists, and you can move, then I would recommend that. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your deen. This is very critical. So you're more aware of your situation. Consider that and make a decision. Pray istikhara. And may Allah really ease the oppression and give Nusra to all of our brothers and sisters in India, as well as Kashmir, as well as Pakistan, as well as Bangladesh. Because all of these Muslims, all of these nations are being threatened by Hindu extremism. Palestina Viva, thank you for your very big super chat. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, people. Thank you. It amazes me the people that agree to have alliances with clear kuffar instead of deviant Muslims. I've loved your work since Genius of Islam series. I believe it's revolutionary. May Allah guide us all. Ameen. Thank you, Palestina Viva. It's always great to see you in the chat. And I agree with you. This is a contradiction to the principles of Islam, usul al-fiqh, that if all else is equal and you have a deviant group of Muslims and you have kuffar, then the priority is to ally with other Muslims. This is basic Islam 101. And unfortunately, Wahhabis have distorted this specifically for their political agenda. And you'll see, I have multiple sections of the Wahhabi documentary that breaks this down very clearly, where you can see the evolution of this deviant ideology. Trill Iman says, Brother Daniel, we're already aware of Julani, but what do you think of Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso, that is president of the country, a real revolutionary leader, polar opposite of Julani? Ever want to look into him? Yeah, I don't know much about him. I guess I need to look into him and see what he's all about. Good to see our moderators. Thank you, moderators, for taking the time to moderate. Brother Hassan Labib is there. I see at least those two. Thank you, Jazakallah khair, brothers, for moderating. Any other comments before we end this stream? Brother Labib holding it down. W subcontinent. Okay. Appreciate everyone. Really enjoyed having a chance to talk to you today. And we're going to have more of these shorter live streams. I think are better. I want to even get it shorter than this. Just so that we're just covering more of the news, doing more analysis, covering more Wahhabis and other topics that you're interested in, inshallah. Dawah topics, debating with Hindus, Christians, etc. That's what we are doing in this channel, alhamdulillah. So stay tuned, subscribe if you're not subscribed already to our newsletter. The link is in the description. And we will see you this coming week. Be on the lookout for the announcement of the Wahhabi documentary. And check out the debate that I had with a Hindu. It's not that long of a debate. There will be timestamps that I put on shortly as well, so you can check it out. And then, yeah, that's all I have for you. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.